Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So this is a video that I was sort of requested by the University of Huddersfield Game Design Discord channel because I posted my last video about how I got a job in the games industry as a designer while still at university. Some of the students from Hoods really liked it and wanted a different video on some different types of things, because with that video I kind of like, it was a very like catch-all type of video where I talked about everything, but I'm going to talk about in more detail how to make a good portfolio as a designer, and I will talk about like other disciplines as well and what's like good practice and stuff like that based off what other people have said, but I'm not going to go into massive detail about that. If I wanted to talk about like an art portfolio, I might get an artist friend to come on and talk about that in more detail, because I'm really just going to be parroting stuff otherwise. But yes, this is going to be about my designer profile, what's good about it, what got me a job, and what has led to really successful interviews where they wanted to take me on. And this is based on feedback from the recruiters and the interviewers, sorry, specifically. So it's actually coming from the people who are making these decisions whether or not to hire you. I mean, I'm going to sprinkle in some of my own opinions about what I think is good about my portfolio and what I think has helped me get a job and get me a lot of opportunities to do with getting a job. But it's mainly going to be based on the opinions of the people that actually like matter, kind of thing. Because like at the end of the day, my opinion on my own portfolio doesn't matter too much. So yeah, let me just grab OBS and go yeet. There we are. So this is my portfolio. So it's nowcrabtree.com. It should be in the description. If it's not, then just search nowcrabtree.com. And then you'll find my portfolio and you can go on it yourself. If you're watching this in the future, might look a bit different. I'm constantly updating this site, and that's one of the tips which I will talk about in a bit. But yeah, first of all, one of the things which I've been taught and which has been said to me is that you need to capture people's attention and give them as many reasons to be interested in continuing to look at your site as possible straight away. By the way, I use Weebly, as you can probably see in the bottom left, to create this site, just because I've been using Weebly since I was like 10. Ever since I watched The Social Network, I've been wanting to create like weird sites. Like I made a, like in The Social Network where Mark Zuckerberg makes a website called Face Mash. I made a similar website but for cartoons, just to see like, wait, who's your favorite cartoon? And it was like Mike Wazowski versus SpongeBob or something like that, But anyway, so I use Weebly to create this website. Good site, a good site builder, And one of the tools which they have is a slideshow. And you can put images, you can put videos, and you can also put GIFs. GIFs are very important, but also could be detrimental. It's very complicated. But yeah, so I started off with an image of me talking, showing my leadership skills, showing my presenting skills, showing that I'm not shy, from communicating with a team. That's the first thing which I wanted to show. This is from my team project in final year. That's the impression which I first wanted to give. And then I cut straight into the boss fight from my most recent video game, Lethal Deal, just to show like, yo, I make video games, but also, get this, I make board games as well, which is just showing like, oh, like probably the vast majority of the designers which apply for this role have not made a board game, or if they have, they haven't published one. Like it's gonna be very rare that like I've found something which I've done which is very rare in the space, and I'm like, this is something which I also do. It's kind of wacky. Why don't you read more? That sort of thing. And it cuts into some more clips from Lethal Deal, showing the environment. Because people, even though I'm not an artist, people love visuals. But with this one in particular, I wanted to show like, oh, I am interested in trying to create innovative, unique mechanics. This is a first-person shooter, as you can clearly see, with deck building mechanics or card mechanics, And then I go into some of my more personal game jam projects, just to show that, like, yo, outside of university, outside of work, I still like making games. I am passionate about making games. And I did that with Lonely Planets, Cargo Quest, and Boxco. Then finally just showing off my first board game which I made. It's quite visually unique because it has like blocks and stuff like that, so I thought that would be a nice way to cap off the slideshow. But yeah, this is like cycling through very quickly. So as they go on the site, whilst it's loading in, they probably and they're like just like getting to grips with like the UI and stuff like that. Probably pass through quite a few images, gives them like sort of like a perception of me. And then, if they like what they see, they'll read the About Me section. I'll read it to you now. I'm Niall, a game designer and graduate at the University of Huddersfield with a first class degree in game design. Since I was 14, I knew I wanted to pursue game design, the catalyst being the release of Indie Game the Movie and my obsession with level editors like Forge Mode and more. Now, with that paragraph, my aim is to sort of like picture who the recruiter is going to be. And I know a lot of recruiters from experience are not necessarily actually have roles in the industry which I want to do, like design or whatever. I'll have like any roles related to practically making the game, but instead are just hired as recruiters with maybe not too much knowledge about the industry. That's based off like calls and interviews which I've had. But with this, I'm like, okay, so if a lead designer is looking through CVs and portfolios and they're like, okay, I'm clicking on these different things, I want to relate to them in some way. And I'm not lying with anything which I'm saying here. Like Indie Game the Movie with Edmund McMillan in particular was the catalyst for me realizing that you could actually make games and earn money and it could actually be a living rather than just something which I just do in my spare time, you know. And on top of that, I've been working in level editors since I was like 10, you know, and I thought like these things could easily be said by anybody in my position, so I just wanted to talk about that. And then finally, talking that I'm currently full-time employed at SigTrap as a level and combat designer working on a VR title, and talking about my history of publishing 3 board games whilst at university, and then saying, yo, if you want to learn more, go to my projects page, which you can also click on here, and here is a link to my CV, which I will probably go into in a different video. And then next we have something which I will talk about in a lot more detail, because this is probably one of the most important parts of my portfolio, is my blog. But I've got like a little widget here where you can click on my latest 3 blog posts if you wanted to, just to show that like maybe people haven't even noticed that I've got a blog page here. So it's like if they're still scrolling through the homepage, they're like, oh shit, he does blogs, so let's check it out. This needs to be updated, but this is my current technical skills. This is every piece of software where if I was hired to work in that software, I would be comfortable working in it. Then just some videos of Lethal Deal, which need to be updated, to be fair. I haven't really been updating it since I got the job, which is bad on my part. So if we go over to the project page, we can see here that I've got Lethal Deal straight away. It is it's a video game. It looks good. It plays well. It's won a bunch of awards. Why wouldn't I show it first? And if you don't have anything like this, that is completely fine. If you're working on a video game, and you want to get a job in the video games industry, stick it at the top of your portfolio if it is a good representation of your work. And that's something which I'm going to be talking about quite a bit in this portfolio, like what is a good representation of your work, should you cull anything from your portfolio, that sort of thing. But one thing which I will recommend before I get ahead of myself is that you should have a page like this, a page which isn't just about introducing yourself, but it is instead just about the projects which you have worked on, and a little description of the projects you've worked on, and maybe a button to go into more detail about particular projects, which I'll show here. But yes, so I have a quick description of Lethal Deal, have the credits, have the development time, just because I have a development time for all my projects, but the development time for Lethal Deal in particular, just because it was such a short development time and we achieved so much. So why wouldn't I say like, yo, this is actually like, we did this in only like 3 months, so like this is pretty cool. And then just the awards which we've won so far with the game. We submitted for the rookies. We got an like excellence award, and we're waiting on the finalist stuff. Hopefully, in the next 5 days actually. So yeah, we have this. You can go to the development log, which will be a specific category on my blog, which you can create categories on your blog, and this is like all blogs related to Lethal Deal, like only Lethal Deal stuff. So if you wanted to read just about the development process of Lethal Deal from the beginning, from January all the way up to, I think the last post I did was June, then they can if they want to. And then I have a link to be able to download it from itch, so you can download it here. And then you can actually play the game, which if you can do that, that'll be amazing. Like if you have a game which is done, or have a game which is still in development, if there is a build which is stable, which you can get people to play, stick it on your portfolio, 100%. Again, if it's reflective of your current skill level. Then we have the board game stuff. We have Langskip. You can find out more from any of these. And by the way, do not make any of your buttons automatically go to a new window. People hate that. I'm just middle clicking the mouse button. So yeah, you can go to. So each one of my board games has these like unique pages talking about the description of the game, development time, a video of how the game is played, and then what I did, and then some things which I like pretty much. And then because all my board games had reviews or like I got interviewed by them, there's links to all of them there. This isn't amazingly presented. This is something which like I haven't put a huge amount of time into. I put like a couple of days into, but like I would like to replace these with like thumbnails and like cool images at some point. But same with Food Time Battle in Space. Same with Block as a Stacking Game as well. These guys did a really, really cool review on Block as a Stacking Game, by the way. So I wanted to show that off, even though it was a very old version of it, because it was 2 iterations of the game and like 2 sort of like passes on the Kickstarter as well, and the game changed dramatically. Like the game which you'll see in that video is nothing like this one, which is weird, but it's such a great video. I just wanted to include it anyway. Next, we have my game jams. So these are right at the bottom because these were, first of all, these were done a while ago. Some of these games I'm currently thinking about culling from my project, but the reason why I have them here is because they all have unique design ideas and unique design concepts, and they're all a part of game jams, which I either did by myself or I did with one other person in a very short amount of time, which shows that I can prototype, shows that I can create stuff quickly and work to deadlines and actually create an interesting and unique product. Like for example, with Lonely Planets, I did it entirely by myself, and I created this unique system with like planet gravity and stuff like that. And I tried to make it work mechanically and thematically, and I did all the artwork by myself. It was actually surprising how much work I ended up doing. Like I don't think I could achieve that now, which is weird because it was like 2 years ago. But at the time, I was just like hyper focused on this idea, and this game jam came up, so I was like, I'll do it. So I'm very proud of that. But yeah, you can go to Itch Play page on that. You can find out more about Vampire Dinner Party if you want to, and Cargo Quest as well. So that's sort of my portfolio, and it's basically like just a showcase of like every project which I think shows what I can do as a game designer. And if you've got any projects yourself which you think this work, not only am I proud of it, but if someone looked at it, read about it, maybe played it, or just watched some gameplay, they would get a very accurate representation of my current skill level. Stick it on your portfolio, you know, even if it's not like the most perfectly beautiful looking thing in the world. Like Vampire Dinner Party is not the nicest thing to look at, but if people read about it and played it, they'd be like, wow, this is like an interesting game. This is something which they didn't just phone it in with just a typical like design idea. They like went for it, and it's actually quite a fun game. Vampire Dinner Party is one of my games which I think is the most fun I've made, you know. So, yeah, that is the projects page. You need to have a projects page in your portfolio. Even if you have no projects, you must have some work in progress stuff. Otherwise, to be blunt, you're not really trying. So you need to get, even if it's just some university project, you know, like you need to show off some stuff. Next, we have the blog. So the blog is actually the most important part of my sites concerning getting me a job. And that is wacky and wild for a lot of people to hear. And I've talked to a bunch of people on my course in the same year as me, looking for similar jobs to me or jobs in other fields. They're like, why do you run this blog? Why have you been running it now for like 2 years, exactly 2 years, or just over 2 years now because we're in July? I'm like keeping it updated pretty consistently. Like I think I've only missed like 3 total months of not posting, and it's because every interviewer, every single person who has looked at this site, who has the capacity to hire or has been hired in the past in the games industry, have all said the blog is gold. The blog sort of sets me apart on a completely different level, and it gives that such an extra layer of depth to understanding how I work and who I am as a game designer, that it's sort of like invaluable, that kind of thing. Which is crazy because one of the reasons why people do it is because people don't think to do it, because they're like, oh, blogging, that's such like a early 2010s, pre 2010s sort of like situation. Now you just like upload images to social media and that's sort of it, or you put it on your ArtStation, or like you make some videos on YouTube or whatever, or you just, I don't know, like do anything other than write about it. People are so adverse to writing, especially in a creative sort of medium sometimes. So they really need to just realize that people are actually, who want to hire you, want to know that like you actually know what you're doing and you don't just happen upon a beautiful character or a well designed game, because a bunch of people can create something that's good by accident. But when you're getting paid to do it for years, you need to have that consistency, and the consistency comes from an understanding of the role and the understanding of the discipline, and the field, and a blog post where there's got to be tens of thousands of words about different design topics on this blog, and you can't get a level of understanding of someone else's understanding any other way than through just so much written text going into detail about different things. Like, if people just even scrolled through it and looked at the headlines, they'll clearly see that I know what I'm talking about, and at least I have a consistent vision of what like something is or whatever, And they can also see that not only has this guy been to uni, gotten a job in industry, released 3 board games, but he's also had the discipline to keep up a blog post for 2 years and consistently provide unique content, and that is something which a lot of recruiters are just going to instantly click with. Even if you don't read a single word on your blog posts, they're going to be like, that this is unique and cool, and I can see that he knows what he's talking about, So yeah, that's the blog post. Basically, TLDR on the blog post: if you don't have a blogging page or a blog on your site, make one, and just, if you're feeling funky one day and want to write, then just like write 3 or 4 blog posts and schedule them for once a month. It just keeps that consistent like feeling and flow. Or if you just want to release them all in one go, do that as well. People love, like, I mean, to be fair as well, people love reading blogs. Like, on this site, I get about 150 views a week, and like they're predominantly looking at my blog, because every single blog is a unique page. I can click on this page, it goes to a unique page. It has completely unique SEO settings, and they can all appear uniquely on a Google timeline, and people will just happen across it, and that will get your word out and your like personal brand out, and just build your personal brand, which will make you more likely to be hired, and that sort of thing. But yeah, anyway, moving on. I've been harping on about that for a while. Talks and interviews. This is something which might be a bit more unique to me, but basically, I did a talk at university as a guest lecturer, and I put that on my site. I've also I've cherry picked a couple of the best interviews which I've been a part of, which I do with my board games. And so if you've got anything like this, or even if you've just been like a part of, like, if you've been invited to speak to students or anything like that, something like that's not like there's something, if you got anything like that which shows that you can speak and communicate and articulate, even if it's just a YouTube video like I'm doing right now, post it somewhere on your site so people can hear your voice, see how you communicate, and get a good vibe from you, kind of thing. Finally, it goes contact me page. Very, very basic. I wanted there to be as little information as possible. Here's my 2 emails if you want to contact me about my personal business, about my board game business, and here is a download link to my CV, which I probably need to update. I've forgotten about that button exists. I thought the button was only on the homepage. I need to update that. So yeah, and then we have 3 external links to the video essays, which needs to be renamed to just YouTube channel, because that's the same YouTube channel that you're watching this on. Podcast, I do a podcast called PTR. So this is just literally like just a way to say, like, yo, I do all this stuff, plus I do other stuff as well. Like, I'm really busy, I have a high work ethic. This is a podcast series which I do with my friends, called Play Talk Repeat. This is the video game book club playlist. So if people wanted to just quickly see my opinions on games, if they wanted to, and they could. And then finally, the mailing list sign up. This is not massively for recruiters. I think it could have if anything, a slight positive impact on their view of me, because they're like, oh, this person's actively trying to still build their business, trying to build their personal brand. They're like still trying, you know what I mean? They might have a voice, like say if it's an indie studio, they might be like, oh, a mailing list, like maybe we can use that, you know, that kind of thing. There's a bunch of different ways that people can take it. But, you know, like that's just like a little extra thing, which is primarily just for people who are interested in my board games that wanted to keep updated, so I could tell them about when Kickstarters go live and stuff like that. But yeah, this has been a long video, but that's pretty much it. Like, that is sort of my insights into portfolios. You just gotta like imagine someone like looking on your site and being like only having a couple of maybe like 30 seconds, and you just capture their attention. So put as much of the interesting stuff straight away on top page, and then talk a bit about yourself, and then that should hopefully compel people to look into your portfolio and stuff like that. There is the option of just making your portfolio page, so my projects page, the home page. That's completely fine as well. However, from what I've been told from interviewers and recruiters, they want to know a bit about you as well. And that's usually what compels them, rather than just like just seeing a bunch of projects and being a bit confused like straight away. So yeah, then make sure you have a nice looking projects page. Put anything which represents your current skill level, and put anything which you are proud of on there, which relates to the role which you want. For example, I'm not going to put some like really bad ArtStation piece on my portfolio, because that's not the job which I want to get. And then finally, have a blog. Like, those are the main three things. Have an eye-catching homepage, a nice laid out project page, and a blog. Have a blog. Even if you're bad at writing, have a blog. Like, it's just so powerful. Like, out of the feedback which I've gotten from every single recruiter and interview which I've had, as well as other people in the industry, the blog is the main thing which has gotten me this far currently, you know. And it's super easy to do as well, even if you're adverse to writing. Like 5-10 minutes a day. Like some of these blogs which I've done taken me 5 minutes to write, and then I'll read through it and then post it. You know, that's it. But yeah, anyway, so that's going to be it from me. Hopefully you found this enjoyable. If you want to talk about anything else in particular, like CVs and stuff like that, CVs are a bit less important in this role, but some recruiters might like a CV. I don't know. I've had interviewers tell me they haven't read my CV before. Like, I had to read them through my CV if they had like specific questions, and I'm like, oh, it's in the CV, and they're like, oh, okay, I remember, when really they don't, because they haven't read it. But yeah, so we could talk about the CV. We could talk about a whole bunch of stuff, just whatever you want, just let me know. But yeah, anyway, so that's going to be it from me. Thank you guys for watching, hopefully enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.